Welcome back to another segment of Women's History Month with Port Realty. Today, I have the honor of interviewing Keisha Rock, who is half of the Ground Up podcast. Aaron is not being highlighted today because he happens to be a male. So we're just bringing light to Keisha today. But obviously, we want to give him credit too because you guys do some great work there. So Keisha, thank you for being with us today. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited. It's always fun to be on the other side of things.
Yes, I know it.
Yeah, I'm hosting, so it's nice to take a back seat.
Well, I appreciate you being here with me. So tell us a little bit about you, your work background, and I know you and Aaron are super involved in lots of different things. So tell us a little bit about the businesses that you're a part of, and of course, the Ground Up podcast.
Absolutely. So I'm a mom, I'm a wife. So for the last 10 years, I've been a public health consultant at Virginia Department of Health. On top of that, over the last, 2 years, we started the Ground Up podcast, which is a podcast that shares entrepreneur and creative stories of how they built their business from the ground up. We've also become small business owners. We own a mobile detailing business, Golden Touch Mobile Detailing. So, I have a career, but I also have this creative side where I like to create and shine light on others, and also a small business owner on top of being a mom. Yes. So all the hats, but I think that's life. Like I'm excited that I've been able to create a full life for myself.
100%. And I think that's what's been so exciting about really getting involved on the video side of things for my business, but really taking the chance on this particular month, because Women's History Month, obviously it's so great seeing so many women being highlighted for what they've done in history, but the women making history right now don't seem to get that same glory, right? And so that was a big part for me. I was like, you just in my inner sphere, in my small circle, I can reach out and know so many different business owners, so many people who are making an impact on their community. And you were one of the first people that came to my mind. I mean, your podcast brings so much light to community. And through the pandemic, we know what we felt was this loss of community. And it was like, we need that back, And I think a lot of people turn to podcasts and different other social outlets. Everything became virtual. But for people who thought podcasts were whack before, they're like, wait, I'm starting to feel connection and community again with someone who runs a podcast. And so I really thank you for highlighting the content and the people that you bring, especially in a local community, because so many of us get wrapped up in just kind of going to these big box places and supporting big box companies, and we don't realize the impact that makes on our community when we don't support local. So I love the spirit behind all that you do with the podcast, even with your detailing company. You're always looking for a local edge. And of course, you happen to be missing out on a car event today because of the rain. So thank you. That actually worked out for us. But of course, I love the hustle that you guys do together. So tell me a little bit about what fueled you and Aaron to start the podcast. If I remember correctly, it was more Aaron wanting to start it.
Well, so much of what you said, I have so much to say about what you said. Well, for starters, the way, you said podcasting and bring community, that is really what started the podcast, is that we fell in love with podcasting, listening to podcasts. So a part of my job, it keeps me on the road because I do inspections to different health facilities. So traveling around Richmond, and then Aaron was formerly a truck driver. So he was always on the road. So we both were listening to podcasts all the time. I introduced Aaron up to podcasts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm learning that. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's what I loved about podcasts, is that anyone can find a podcast that they will enjoy. You know what I mean? There's so many messages, so many subjects. And so at the time, I was listening to podcasts about true crime and storytelling and wellness and health and all these different podcasts. And then when I got Aaron into listening to podcasts, we started listening to podcasts together, but apart. So I'd be on the road for work, he'd be on the road for work. And we just started listening to podcasts about real estate investing and podcasts about money management. And we were like, this is really opening our eyes, and it's all just from someone deciding to start their media,
Right.
and giving back. And so some of the podcasts we were listening to were interview format, and we were learning so much from these people about real estate and managing our money and our finances. And we were like, okay, we knew entrepreneurship would be in our journey at some point, because Aaron was been really passionate about wanting to be a business owner. Um, so it so we were like, okay, well, we are loving listening to this podcast. We're learning from all these people. Maybe we should start a podcast where we can choose our own guests and learn from these people. So it really started as a like personal self gain. Like,
I love that. Yeah.
it was really like, we want to, I mean, storytelling too is something that comes natural for me. I love finding interesting people and shining light on them. So it encompassed a lot of things that we were interested in. We knew we could learn and grow from, and we knew that there were other people that wanted to who need to hear other people's story to be inspired.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny because it really just started as, we like podcasts a lot and we just want to learn from people so that we can grow in our life. And it really turned into something much bigger because of the pandemic. At the time, we started it the first episode came out in April of 2020.
That was the beginning of everything. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But we started recording in December of 2019. So we started the podcast. It just didn't air until April. But what kind of spun into is that at the time, it was like the onset of the pandemic. So there were so many small business owners who needed to be spotlighted, who needed to be, to tell their story. But there was also a lot of people who, because of the free time, were building businesses and used that as a time to like build upon their business. And for us, we had more free time. I mean, I was also pregnant, but to create this media channel, and it
not to breeze over pregnancy,
not to breeze
pandemic,
over.
okay?
Yeah.
Because I think, just to pause for a second, all of what you said is so important, right? Because we're all here looking to be the best type of business owner, the best possible person for ourselves. And a part of you being able to do that while bringing value to others, that's another level, right? Because you're taking it, you're soaking it in, but you're also sharing it with other people that wish they could have that same exposure, right?
Yeah.
And so being pregnant through a pandemic and knowing how much, both of us experienced that. And it was one of those things where we had such a different experience through a pregnancy than most of all of our friends, of course, our moms, like sisters, all the things, right? Like, so we had a very different experience. And so for you to be able to find, it's funny, I feel like sometimes in the face of adversity, we find strength to push harder. So when we're going through something like the depression and anxiety of being pregnant through a pandemic, and you found an outlet not only to help you professionally, but to help you personally, because I know from watching the episodes and hearing some of the episodes, is like you're being filled just as much as the people are filling out the listeners, right? Like, because they want people to obviously understand who they are, what their businesses are, where they're located, what services they offer. And so people are soaking in all of that. But for you, I think you took it to a different level of learning where you could find this professional and personal growth through one platform. And so I have to commend you on that, because it's so, a lot of us can tend to just shut down during hard times in our life. And I feel like you and Aaron took on 18 projects during the pandemic, right? Like, most of us are just like, oh no, like, what do we do? What's going to happen next? The fear, the anxiety. And you guys took that as fuel, to do something. And so a part of what has now with KJ, your son, when this is a legacy, like, this is truly a legacy that he'll be able to hear these episodes, years from now. He'll be able to hear, oh yeah, this one business or whatever, they're still around. I support them because my mom and dad supported them. Like, that's such a huge thing. So I just have to say, I have to commend you for turning all of the lemons into lemonade and just doing what you did through the pandemic, because that's huge. Finding a way to turn everything around during the hardest year for most of everyone. So kudos to you.
So much of what you said, I haven't been able to like put words to. And I mean, that is what we did essentially, but so much of it was just God orchestrated. You know what I mean? You know how God just uses you.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were creating. We really didn't. Like I said, in the beginning, it was like personal gain. Let's find really cool people, learn from them, and like see how that can change our lives. But very quickly we realized, oh, this can be something where this can really touch, this can touch people by the people that were telling their stories. A lot of times during your journey, when you're building something, you're working really hard, you don't take the time to reflect. You don't take the time to really acknowledge the growth that happens when you're building something, right? So
Right.
we give these people the opportunity to take 1 hour and really reflect on what they created. But the people listening, they're hearing people who had entrepreneur dreams actually make it come to life. So while we're helping and shining light on our guests, it's the listeners who are also being inspired to actually take action in their life. And what we didn't know is that the majority of our listeners were going to end up being small business owners themselves. So it was a lot of community that was built, because now you're
Yeah.
hearing people tell relatable, they're talking about relatable experiences in business. So, I mean, it was just so much that was going on that eventually it did do exactly what we expected it to do, is to lead us to where we were going to be in our entrepreneur journey. And that was Golden Touch Mobile Detailing. And that's really just a blueprint to what we plan to create. We just want to build a business that serves, provides a great service, and that we can really learn the foundation of how to build a successful business.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the sky's the limit from there.
100%. And it's so crazy, right? Because what you said from your listeners, right? I mean, I can just to attest, like being younger, when I would see people that own businesses, my mindset was that they came from money, they were privileged, they had everything set up for them, right? Because
Right.
we never had the social media aspect to give us a glimpse behind people's struggle and people's lives and how they actually got there. And
Right.
so it's just this common misconception, right? It's just like, if this person happened to own something or had a company that offered service, I just, in my mind, I couldn't put behind that they had struggles. I couldn't put it together that there was, obstacles that they faced to get there. And so it's a big part. I know you're a big Dave Ramsey fan like I am. And so a big part of what Chris Hogan and Dave Ramsey preach is that most of these everyday millionaires that we come across in our daily walk, have the most humble upbringing. They're not the flashy people that are spending money and driving crazy fancy cars and spending lots of money on lavish things. They're actually incredibly humble. And a lot of them being entrepreneurs and putting everything that they have into their businesses because the money wasn't the goal for them. It was truly a bigger picture. It wasn't, some people will tell you, like, if you want to start a podcast or if you want to start a business, and money is your first objective, you're doing it for the wrong reason, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you're not doing it for something that serves you and brings, honor to the values that you set for yourself and brings value to others, that's the true reason, right? That's the reason that you should get into it. And so, whereas I'm sitting here thinking about our sons, right? And I'm like, of course, I love college, I love going to school, but I look at it now as like, if he came to me at 18, 19 and had a badass business plan about what he wanted to do, I'm 100% about that versus doing a college fund for, him going to a university, right? Because so much can be learned through what is out there. I mean, it's like I've seen people being self-taught through Google and YouTube just in real estate, right? To get to where they wanted to be in real estate, never touched college universities, right? Love college and I have nothing against it, but I think that there's something to be said about entrepreneurs. And if you can start your business and be in college and learn what you can and absorb, like the world is truly your oyster. And I think that's a big part of what your podcast brings out is that some of these people like had a dream and they had a vision and that's what pursued them into their business. Not, I want to be a millionaire. I want to make all of this money, because it's truly not the root of it.
Yeah, and one of our one of the things we're built on too is highlighting creatives because um, in today's world, I mean, look at us, look at what we're doing right now.
Right.
The creativity that's out here in order to add value is like some serious brilliance, and
Yeah.
people are making money off of their creativity. And so we've had, full-time digital content creators, artists on the podcast as well, because while some of them don't want to use the word entrepreneur because there's a lot of people don't necessarily want to view themselves as that, but you are,
Yeah, they don't want to put themselves in that category, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's been really cool. And I think people really enjoy the podcast because we try to go across the spread of not just your everyday, although we do a lot of restaurants, but we have like such a
I
broad
know
scope.
that is a good one.
We
That is a
do.
good, like if you need a
We do.
place to like some advice on where to go for food, like that is of course a good
Yeah.
source, but
Yeah, we're
it's
foodies
bigger
over
than that.
here. But we try to really get like, we have virtual assistants, a business owner that we've interviewed. We really try to get like a broad
Right.
spectrum of different type of business owners or entrepreneurs. Because and the best thing is that people can make their own way now. You can really make money doing whatever you love because that's what America's come to now. Like it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. So I think those are the best interviews when I find someone who's created a business and they've created their own opportunities. That's always mind blowing.
Yeah, 100%. So with that being said, what would be your one piece of advice for women looking to start their own business or a podcast like yours? I mean, what type of advice do you wish you would have gotten in the beginning, right? Like that you would give to someone today?
I mean, don't think too much. Just don't think too much about it. Start and you'll get momentum. And the reason I say don't think too much is because you'll think yourself out of it. You'll
Oh
think
yeah,
that you need to have this perfectly laid out, but the beauty of life and building something from the ground up is that it takes its own shape as you start. As you roll the ball, it starts building momentum and it becomes what it's meant to be. Whether it's a podcast, YouTube channel, a business, it'll become what it's meant to be on its own, but you have to get started, and because you'll figure out so much along the way that if we think too much about it, there's a few things that you need to think about. Are you passionate about it? Is there ways to collaborate? Are there resources around you that you can already use? A lot of the time we think we have to have something that's hard to reach, so we never start because we think we can't attain what we need to get started. But it'd be surprised all the resources that you have around you, all the knowledge that's in people around you. um, just start, just make a move.
That's the best advice I think in for so many different categories. But I feel that as a type A person, like I feel that deeply because that is a big piece of, when I branched out to my own business to do real estate, it had to be like a pull the band-aid off moment because I knew it was going to be, learning curves and different things that I relied on other people for. But just starting it is so true. Everything evolves how it's supposed to. And I think there's a big misconception with like keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like we see other people that they've reached a level of success and we feel like that's where we're supposed to start. And so
Exactly, yeah.
we're just like, but I can't, but they're so good. I want to be just like that, but we're not there yet, right? Like we're learning through.
And I wish people really knew how inspiring how much you inspire people when you start where you're at. You know what I mean? There's so many people I've seen um just just let me give you an example. Do events where it's just like only a few people showed up. And some people would look at that and be like, "Oh man, that was a fail." I look at them like, "Man, you went through with it. You learned so much in the process of putting on this event, and you're not giving up from there." You like this
Right.
the person I'm talking about is an entrepreneur friend. She continues to go on, and she's excelling. But
Yeah.
some people would have gotten discouraged by that, and I find that I like seeing people in their beginning stages. And that's probably why my podcast, why I'm so passionate about it. Because the growth that happens when you start from wherever you're at, that's the journey. I mean, that's the cherry on top, is looking back. If
Oh
you start
yeah.
at the top, what are you looking back at? Like,
It's so true. And I think, you and I both have really strong faith. And I think that one piece of what draws me to other people in faith is their testimony, right? And testimony can be the same in your faith, in your professional life, in your personal life, because it's something that triggered us in our life to do something about it. And we started somewhere, and that's typically at the bottom, and worked our way up to where we are. And so, where people come to be saved as Christians, they're hearing the story of someone who went through drug addiction, who went through alcohol addiction, who went through the very bottom depths of everything and came out of it.
yeah.
And became successful, made the strides, went through the struggles. And so it's amazing to have your podcast to highlight people. You don't have to start at the top. Start where you are, right? Start where you are, build up, because when you do get to that point and you are at that top, that's your story, that's your legacy.
And that's where you build, that's where you really build yourself. Like, that's where you build the thick skin that you're going to need to have in life. You know what I mean?
Right.
The experience that you're going to need, the relationships you're going to build, that happens through the journey. So we have to be okay going through it. And then also I would say, I say just start, but also just try it out. Like, we really have, how they say, it's what do you have to lose?
Right.
I mean, we really, like, every decision I've ever made. And I just recently made a big life decision. So, I've been at VDH for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm moving to the private sector. I just accepted a position.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but it's scary.
It's a jump.
It's a huge jump. And it's gonna change our lives, but it's also was a chance for me to decide, are you ready to grow? Are you ready to take a risk and a chance? And are you ready to do something afraid?
Right.
That's kind of my thing. It's like, we like, don't always play it safe. And I feel like I did that for a lot of my life. I played it safe. And in this stage of my life, it's time to, like, bet something on myself. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I think that the podcast and listening to, we've done a little over 60 episodes now, listening to how people stepped out on faith and just made big moves, play big.
Right.
It's done something to me where I'm like, okay, I can play big. I can use the God gifts that, that I've been given, and take some risks sometimes. So also, you kind of move afraid. Cannot be afraid to be uncomfortable, because when you are uncomfortable, that's when true growth happens.
100%.
And I mean, what's a life worth living if you're not growing?
That's right. And I think, from your perspective too, you, like you said, you wear all the hats, right? Your mom, your wife, you're professional, you're an entrepreneur in your own self. It doesn't get easier to take that leap of faith, right? Like, every different opportunity brings a different leap and a different anxiety and a different uncertainty. And so it's a great thing to think about how it doesn't get easier, right? It stays hard, but you get braver, right? Like, you build strength in your own security of saying, like, you put this into your faith, you put this into what you're just stepping out, right? You're just stepping out to where you can. So I love that. I have to, you've had 60 episodes. You tell me, as far as your podcast, tell me one of your most memorable guests so far, like to date, that you would say really touched you and made an impact on you and your family.
Well, first I have to give the generic answer, but all my guests, no, but truly, all the guests, we've had some incredible people on the podcast, and there's been episodes with people that, I don't want to say I don't get nervous, but I don't get that nervous, because it's my platform, it's my, my space. Right. But there were some people that made me nervous. But I will say, one of the episodes that it was just like an aha moment went off during this episode. It's episode 30. I interviewed Jessica Rose. She is a internet sensation. She's got 80K followers on Instagram. She's got a poppin' YouTube channel. She's really blown up as far as making skits, like mom rap skits. And
Oh,
every,
love that.
yeah, she's so dope. She's done like some Cardi B songs. And but so I got her on the podcast, which I was shocked that she said yes, but she was at a stage where she was kind of doing a transition in her career. She's a full-time content creator. She lives in LA. But she was now writing children's books. So at the time when I reached out to her, it was great because she needed to promote this children's book. So she got on the podcast and we just got to talking. And this was episode 30. So this is right, I'm at
Halfway
like
point.
Yeah, halfway point. And this journey of putting out content, you can really get consumed in how many listens did I get? How many views am I get? Are people reposting? Is this, and talking to an actual full-time content creator and hearing her say how she has struggled with her mental health because of being in this industry, and how followers do not equate to dollars, and how, she kept it real. I'm so blessed that I had that episode at that time in my life because it helped me switch how I wanted to emotionally attach myself to this journey of being a podcast host and having a media platform. I really decided from there out, I was doing this to add value. It's gonna have nothing to do with views, listens, popularity. I was doing this to add value so I could grow and to help other people grow and create relationships. And that's what I focus on now. So
and that's the reward. That's the biggest reward from all of that. It's more fulfilling than money. It's more fulfilling than things. Like, it is the true reward because you're touching people's lives on a daily basis where they may have not heard of these people before you. And just your own circle making that impact, and then your circle sharing that with their circles, is the impact, is the value. And, I'm so glad that you said that because there's so many, we have tons of friends, you and I mutually, that have their own businesses, that have things that they're promoting. And so everybody is trying their best in their own space to be the best that they can be in their space. And so we're trying hard to promote ourselves, and sometimes it can be hard to share that love with others because we're working so hard, right? So it's a good reminder of supporting what brings value to your life, whether that's your friends' businesses, whether that's their friends' businesses, but supporting what brings value and honor to your life is what's beneficial, because most of the people in those spaces, that's what they're looking to achieve, is making an impact on you, making an impact on your life, not, the likes, the follows, the reposts, the retweets, like all of that comes with, but it's not without the value, right? You can't have it without the value. So I'm so glad that you shared that. So I know this has been my bonus question that I have to ask for you too. So if you could have dinner and drinks with any woman in history, and KJ can come too, dead or alive, who would it be? Hey, KJ.
That is so easy. It would and always will be Oprah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, Aaron always jokes he's gonna make me the Oprah of Richmond, but I've always just loved Oprah because she's just a wise soul, and I like to see myself as someone who spews wisdom. I try to always, like I said, provide value. And I also remember in an interview, Oprah had said that early on in her career on her talk show, she had an episode where, can't remember the details of the episode, but the woman during the episode was told that her husband was being unfaithful to her. And she said the look on the woman's face, like you could tell that she completely broke. Like she didn't see this coming. It was on national live TV. And Oprah said she was mortified that she was a part of that. And she said after that episode, she went to the producers and said, I will not do this anymore. I will not do things to be salacious. I will not do things to do rating. I will only have guests on my show and put out to the world things that are going to add value and that is going to, uplift people and teach them.
Right.
And that's what I want to do. I want to add value and I want to teach people and I want to uplift people. And Oprah has done that. And I want to be fucking successful. And Oprah is
Yes.
fucking
A
successful.
100%. And that's such a good, because I can understand how you relate to her in so many different ways and how so many women relate to her, because she sacrificed what was popular for what was valuable to her. And that is so important because there's so much trash out there. I mean, let's be honest, there's so much trash TV out there. There's plenty of spaces for that. Like, you got the Maury's, you have all those, right? But you didn't have that person bringing value and uplifting people. You didn't have that because it's a less popular space. And that's one thing that I've learned as a business owner and as friends with business owners, is that sometimes it's not a popular space to be in, to step out on your own. But when that ball rolls and when things build, that's when people see that light. That's when people see that shine, and they're like, man, like, I see you, like, I see what you're doing. I see that now. But it's hard for people to see that in the beginning. And especially when you're making a sacrifice and a change in your life where people are like, I can't believe she left where she was, doing what she was doing, to do what? Like, that's their perception because they are afraid of that failing forward, that we're not. And that's the difference and the grit with entrepreneurs and business owners, is that you're taking that step because you believe in yourself enough and you believe in what you're doing enough to bring honor to that, no matter where that leads you. If it leads you to making less, if it leads you to making more, that's not the point. It's what you're doing behind it. So I love that you picked Oprah because, I mean, she's the queen. She's
Exactly.
She's the queen of everything. And you will be the Oprah of Richmond. And I hope I get the first car that you give out. And whatever you do.
I have to say before we end this though, Crystal, I am incredibly proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Going out on your own as far as real estate, and then doing this, creating content that adds value and that really showcases you as a being and not just you as a businesswoman. Like, you're really being vulnerable and you're spreading that love by highlighting other women. You're doing some great things. Like, I am so incredibly proud of you.
Well, thank you. And I really appreciate you. Like you said, you are the content creator. So I'm happy to have someone else on here that knows what it's like creating content day in and day out for people. But it's true. I mean, no matter what space we are, no matter what business we are, bringing light to social topics, bringing light to the community is so important, because we're nothing without that. Our businesses are nothing without the community and value of others. And so to me, I own a real estate company. I'm a real estate agent, but to me, the community and the value that I add to my community is what's really important. And so Women's History Month was like, this is go time. I've been putting this on hold to create content and to put myself out there, but Women's History Month is it. I'm doing it. And I was like, this is it. So thank you for making history now. Thank you for creating a legacy for your husband, for your son, for your family, and for your community, because I can tell you, girls, so many of your friends and so many of your coworkers look at you and aspire to be so much like you. So thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Crystal.
Love you. Thank you for being here today. And tell KJ thanks for joining. We always love a celebrity appearance. So he will boost ratings. He will boost ratings.
Absolutely. I love it.